Hi, and thanks again for joining me on another episode of MTV Monster TV. And today we are talking about how to make the most of your neutrals. Neutral coloured paints, often seen or deemed as boring, but actually they are quite the contrary. Neutrals are used primarily by many designers to help be a big part of decorating schemes. Often give a calm and serene mood, but you get lots of personality with the room that you explore with neutral paints for what you can do with them afterwards. So choosing neutrals gives you a lot of flexibility within a space. Remember that, it's a real important one, and why a lot of designers go with it, because it allows you then to create a mood with a lot of the other decorative items that you can put in that room, which you can't always do with warm or sharp whites or cool whites. So really important to remember the neutral piece, because it does open up and explore another avenue. It also provides a massive backdrop. So you pretend you've got a blank canvas. When you go with neutrals, you can actually make big changes to a room, and it allows you to keep making those changes without having to repaint the room, because you're using other furnishings often. So I'm going to give you some tips on how best to use neutrals and how many of the designers, these are the hacks on how they use neutrals. So firstly, consider the texture. Texture is how the surface feels, or even how it's perceived to feel. So it might be looking like it's a smooth or a soft or a harder or a textured finish, but you can have lots of fun with different textures and neutral paints on wall surfaces just by using various rollers. So you can use a textured roller, you can use your normal foam rollers that you can get, but going over things like render work, timbers, particularly with renos or brickwork, you can do things like the colour wash range, where you actually can use a colour wash where you still explore the back texture of the actual substrate, but you get to see through it. And this sort of neutral type design gives you a lot of opportunity to bring the room up with other furnishings that you can use and colours to bring it up, which you can't always do if that was a pigmented type paint where you've just got the one colour, because you're now benefiting from the neutral colour and the original surface and texture. So one to keep an eye on. And neutrals allow you to go with a colour tone that can really transform a room. So as I said earlier, a lot of people think they're boring. Texture, considering your texture with your neutral paint, can make a hell of a difference. The next tip is choose a colour to stand out in your space. So in a neutral colour scheme, you want to use colours sparingly. You don't want to overload it with too many feature colours in that room. So things like standout colours, like things like artwork, cushions, certain furnishings, sofas, etc., or cupboards you might have in those rooms, they are your opportunity to use as a primary major standout colour. And you don't want to be having too many colours that are the standout colours in the room, but they are a great way to play off the neutrals. So you keep your colour pieces simple, and the beauty of these is that if you go with a neutral colour on the walls, you can change up the mood of that room and the look of that room by changing the designs in terms of those standout colours if they're furnishings or artwork, and you get a completely different change a year or two later if you're going down a different path without having to repaint the room again. So think of the neutral in that situation as the background, and then you can play with lots of standout colours from that to really optimise that room. Things like going back to nature, there's another tip where a lot of designers now are using these hacks, is that they are using live plant or greenery in rooms, particularly living rooms. You can see some of those photos now, where you actually get the ability to bring a natural feel to a room, and it looks a little bit odd when you've got coloured walls or even warm or cool whites, but with a neutral wall, and you bring the plant life into those rooms, it makes a hell of a difference in terms of the appearance and the look. So think of that. It gives you a big opportunity. I mean, not something you're going to put in a bedroom, but particularly in living areas, open rooms, it gives it a completely different fresh feel. And as we know, the air quality is always improved when you've got live plants in those rooms. The fourth one, and the one we're seeing more so now, which is a big hack by designers, is the use of neutrals with metallic features or surfaces in rooms, and they are used often to transform rooms. We're seeing a lot of this in areas like kitchens. So metallic accents in rooms with neutral paints on walls can make a big big transformation to a room, completely different than what you might get with something like traditional Laminex or ceramic tiling. So tapware, handles, you don't want to overdo metallic all over the place, but you can have a really special splashback type metallic feature wall with the neutral paint near it. Things like your brass fittings, copper is a real popular one. We're seeing a lot of interior designers using copper and brass now with neutrals, and it really brings that room up and gives it a different modern type look. Countertops as well, we're seeing some of the old black steel, anodized aluminiums, etc. that are used in those areas. Even sometimes I've seen some real smart play with metals that actually deliberately do corrode and just gives that contrast, that rustic look. Have some fantastic play with things like terracotta tiles on that old Tuscan look. On a floor, you go with a neutral coloured wall, and you can bring up more of that feature in the room with a metallic type feature, whether it be through your tapware or a countertop. So give that some consideration. There's some inspiring photos you would have seen just now with metals used with neutrals. A great way to make and transform that room. So neutrals are the new black and white of interior design. That is the big thing. Designers, as I said, are going to them more. They ensure that clean, fresh feel. And the beauty of them is that you can actually stamp your personality with a neutral by using other things to bring the room up. Because as I said, if you're going with warm, we've spoken about different lights in rooms before, and we often get calls with people saying, should we go warm white, cool white? A neutral sometimes overcomes that, and then you can bring the room up to your personality and your look with everything else you're going to add to the room without having to repaint the room every few years. If you've got any more questions on neutrals, please bring them our way. We'd be more than happy to help you. Looking forward to seeing more of you and more of the questions on MTV coming our way through either our Facebook or Instagram page. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.